Artlist.io.
Hey, so we are here and we're doing our podcast. This is the first time we're going to sit down and record a few of these, I think.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, this is the Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast. It's the inauguration of, a combination of the things that we do. My name is Nilla, and I travel the world helping individuals learn the skills they need to have a happy and healthy relationship. And my partner here is...
I'm her co-host, Big and husband, Big Sexy. Here to, I guess I'm providing both kind of like the layman aspect of a lot of these topics. And, my own ideas and thoughts on the subject matter that we'll address here at Rainbow Dreamcatcher. And to provide a little light element and some inject some humor.
He's the funny one.
I'm the funny guy.
He's the funny guy.
So, and again, I know that some of the topics we'll be discussing will be rather heavy. And I will temper a lot of that. I'll try not to get too silly when we're like deep and emoting.
Right. I'm also hoping we're not going to get too deep and heavy. I mean, we're going to be talking about love and all the different aspects of love. I'm really hoping that as we talk about love and relationship, most of it's going to be light. Unfortunately, that's not today.
That's the thing, right? I mean, love, right? Love is light, but it also
love is light when done well.
When done well, right? Yeah. But it also can be one of the most devastating aspects of a person's life as well. So, and we're going to explore all of that.
Yeah. And today we're going to start talking about one of those kind of devastating aspects. It's something that I've recently become interested in. I've seen it a lot in my practice. I've started to see it a lot across the internet broadly. But, it's not a new concept, but it is one that is growing. Yeah. And that is the prevalence of romance scams. Yeah. For folks that don't know, a romance scam is any kind of fraud that begins with the premise of a relationship, usually an intimate partnership, right? So I'm really interested in you. I really want to date you. But the end goal is really to separate the target from their money. Yes. And it can be a really devastating experience. And it's becoming a lot more widespread.
It's almost like corporations are also romance scammers, but they actually tend to they usually give you something physical to separate you from your money.
Yeah.
But politicians don't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe they're using similar kinds of persuasion. It's, let's maybe talk a little bit about just the numbers, right?
Right.
So last year, 70,000 people in the United States alone reported being defrauded in a romance scam.
Right.
Out of that they lost about $1.3 billion.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's just what's reported.
That's with a B.
Yeah, that's with a B. That's a lot of money. Now, for most folks, the median amount most people lost was about $4,400, according to the FTC.
That's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
If you're broke.
Well, it's a lot of money even if you're not broke. $4,000 to...
Well, if you're a billionaire, if you lose $4,000, you might drop $4,000 and be like, oh, shit, that sucks. But
yeah,
you're not going to feel it. But if you're only making, $20,000...
Yeah, well, let's hope
$30,000 a year.
Yeah, well, let's hope that 1.3 billion, that there was just one billionaire that gave up $1 billion.
Just one billionaire. Right. It's like the rest of the world is the 0.3.
Everybody else just gave up a few bucks.
One billionaire got hit for
$1 billion.
It's like, oh, that hurts.
How did it hurt? But so let's maybe talk about how folks get into this, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, a lot of this is driven by dating apps and social media. Which is really kind of scary. It's not like it's the easiest thing to be out there in the world dating anyway.
Right. On Jump, it's not the easiest thing to put yourself in a vulnerable situation.
Super tough. And because we are so active and alive on the internet, and so much of our lives are available, folks don't understand that people are really doing research. They are finding targets. They are finding out things like what your favorite color is and what you like to do and what you're interested in. And oftentimes it starts off really innocuous, right? It doesn't seem like they're actually targeting anybody. So you might get a message on social media that just says, "Hey, I'd really love to chat with you," or, I saw that, you were interested in X, Y, and Z. I'm also interested in that.
My favorite are the text messages that come through like, "Hey, how's it going? Good to see you again. Who's this? Are you not my friend John?"
Yeah.
No. "Oh, I'm sorry. I must have the wrong number, but you seem kind of nice. What's your name?"
Yeah. So they get folks in a variety of ways. It always starts very simple, and then it very quickly escalates. What you're going to find is that they will have a ready backstory, and that backstory will have the one thing that is always true about a romance scammer, always baked in. And that one thing is they can never meet you in person.
Oh, I thought they're Nigerian.
Rude. To our Nigerian listeners, I want to apologize for my husband here.
Yeah, but you keep your princes out my emails. That's all I'm saying. There's so many Nigerian princes.
Yeah.
But no, you're right.
And to be fair, it is an area that is actually kind of known for this kind of activity. I don't know why. Actually, I should probably maybe do some research.
Why specifically Nigeria? What are the tax benefits, or if there's like,
I don't know if there's tax benefits to fraud, but
but I mean the easiest way to move money around.
Let me add this fraud to my taxes.
Maybe there's a way to move. They can move the money around easier from maybe Nigeria got a really strong Wi-Fi connection.
I'm gonna guess that there are not very strong international laws that would allow folks to actually go into Nigeria and grab these folks up.
You mean the Nigerian government is not providing tax benefits for the frauders? I'm just saying.
I'm gonna look that up, and if we find information about that, we're gonna add that to the comments down below.
Yeah.
We'll just pin it up there so you can see, because now I'm curious. Now I want to know like why, and particularly the area is Lagos, I'm hearing.
Right.
Why Lagos, Nigeria, why that is such a prevalent place. But in any case.
But backtrack.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
They can't meet you.
They can't meet you. Right. So sometimes that's baked into the story. Oftentimes it's baked into the story. The most popular romance scam story is that they are a military person that is in a faraway post. Mm-hmm. And that's actually psychologically really, it's really persuasive because, you think the military, you think honesty, military folks are upstanding, they are loyal, they are sacrificing, parts of their lives to be able to defend others. So it's really compelling to think that like, oh, there's this military person. They have all of these characteristics that we associate with the military, and they also have this baked-in excuse because everybody knows if you're in the military, they can send you anywhere, and you don't get a choice. And they can also say things like, "Oh, you can't communicate."
They can restrict your communication.
They can restrict your communication, and so that's one of the reasons why that's the most popular backstory. And then the second backstory, which I didn't think there were this many people doing this work, but the second most popular backstory, according to the FTC, is they're on an offshore oil rig.
Right.
Now, I'm going to guess that the oil and gas industry is pretty big, but I didn't know that they had like how many people do they even have working on an oil rig? I don't know.
There could be a couple thousand.
Okay, well,
oil rigs are like cities.
Yeah. Okay.
On the ocean.
Okay, well then that makes sense, right? But that's the second is that I'm, doing an offshore oil rig.
A couple hundred, something, yeah, but still a lot of people. And again,
that
is a believable, especially to the person who doesn't know, because again, we don't know. I've never worked on an oil rig. I've
also never met anybody that worked on an oil rig. So to me, I kind of be like,
I have a feeling that
in fact, I take that back. I know one person. Right. I actually know one person from way, 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 way back. This guy was like a geologist, and he would work on oil rigs, but I think he was in like Colorado.
Right.
Yeah, but he wasn't like in the middle of the ocean. So offshore oil rigs, like especially if you are not like from a coastal area, I suppose that could be something that like.
And again, they find people who don't know that world, And if you don't know the world, I can tell you anything about the world and you'll believe me because you already trust me that I am in that world.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting about this kind of scam, though, is that rather than they don't really rely so much on the details, because honestly, for most folks, if you are in a place where you're paying attention to the details,
you're not going to get scammed.
Things are going to come up and you're going to notice things that are inconsistent.
Right.
The challenge is that we have a loneliness crisis. I'm not sure if this is true in other parts of the world, but certainly in the United States, there is a crisis of loneliness. And I think it was deepened by the pandemic.
I think very much so.
People were cut off from, friends and loved ones. I've actually worked with a lot of people whose relationships changed and shifted in the pandemic. It revealed things that, suddenly there was this cutoff that, regular life would not have afforded. Right. And so, coming out of that, I think there's a lot of effects, and there's a lot of effects for a lot of us in various different ways. But one of those is that there is a significant amount of loneliness out there. And there's also a lot of broken relationships as a result of the pandemic.
Right.
So, what they really are trading on is loneliness and trying to figure out how to be the perfect person for whoever they are targeting. So the way that the scam works, of course, is they make some kind of connection that can be anywhere online. That can be through your text messages, that can be through social media, through dating apps. I've heard folks that have been scammed through gaming apps.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just like playing Candy Crush, and you know how you get friends on Candy Crush.
There's a social aspect, right?
And then that Candy Crush friend is like, oh, hey, and then we're talking, right? Or I'm doing a Wordle and we're talking. And then suddenly there is this connection that wasn't there before. And it seems very innocent.
That blew up like with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Because World of Warcraft was very much I can hop online and we can form a group and we can raid together and we can, and you go to social areas in the game.
Right.
Meet people, say hi, become friends, and then you guys go raid together and build up.
Isn't it so interesting, though, how so many games now have that social aspect?
I
don't
think World of Warcraft was the first, but it was definitely one of the biggest.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, even with just like, Xbox or PS5 or anything like that, like you're hearing people and everybody's talking shit. Everybody's talking shit constantly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a different topic. Maybe we're going to have a podcast called Talking Shit. I don't know. I always find it kind of funny until it gets, not funny. But in any case, so it can pop up anywhere. And once the connection is made, they really work to deepen the social relationship.
They do love bombs, right? They call love bombing. Is that part of it?
They do what we call love bombing. First, they do what's called mirroring, right? So basically, you like red. I love red. You like to drink this particular kind of wine? How funny. That's actually the exact kind of wine that I'm interested in. Oh, you like to do this thing? I like to do that thing. You're a morning person. I'm a morning person.
Right.
And so they are really good at actually just kind of giving back to you the reflection that they see from you.
Right.
Which then makes it feel like, we're kind of on the same page.
We're
vibing.
Same page. We're on the same level, man. We like the same things.
This person just gets me.
They get me. They understand it.
They understand me, right? They get all of me.
I don't talk to very many nerdy gamers who also like,
who are also hot.
And like
20 years younger than me. Right. So
what 25-year-old, loves Metallica as much as I do.
Yeah. So there's that, which is the mirroring.
I mean, no disrespect to the 25-year-olds who love Metallica, but
No, especially the hot ones.
Especially
the hot ones. Yeah. You guys live your life. Do your thing. Appreciate you. So
hit us up on social media.
Rude. Anyway. But yeah, and then the second thing is what you were talking about, which is love bombing, right?
Right.
Which is really just it's fraud through flattery. Right. So like, you get me so well. You're such an amazing person. You're so caring. Whatever aspect of the other person they value in themselves, the scammer is really, really good at reflecting back to them what they value about themselves, right? So if you think of yourself as a caring and giving person, which unfortunately this is who these scams target, right? Are good, giving, kind people, then they're going to highlight that they really see that about you and they appreciate that about you. And that's what's so hard about it, because those are traits that are actually real. They're true for most of these folks. Right. They are really good, kind, warm, loving people. And that's the hook, right? So they not only see this about you, they then, once they start that mirroring and the love bombing, right? Like, I love you. And they will start to say this very quickly, by the way, like that. It doesn't take very long. Usually it's anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, but somewhere in the like 2 to 8 week range, they will start to give expressions that are not typical of the time spent in the relationship. Right. And it feels good because, I don't know, that's kind of the way love happens, right? It just kind of happens out of nowhere.
Feeling organic.
It's a surprise, right? Like, it's not expected, but it's just here. I have these feelings for you. And because they've spent so much time and effort in, love bombing and mirroring, right? And also this kind of like, they also have like a, I don't know, the word that comes to me is patina, like a patina of care. Okay. Is that a real word? I don't know.
I know patina is a real word. I
don't know if it's accurate to use. I think I'm going to tell you it's accurate to use. Okay. A patina of care. I know patina. I think like patina has something to do with a shade. It's color. Like a shade of care, right? Yeah. And what they'll do is they'll do things like, hey, have you eaten today? And if I'm a lonely person and nobody really cares about the small details of my life, at least in my view, or at least I don't have access to people that give that to me, then that seems like a really caring thing to just be like, hey, have you eaten today? Make sure that you take care of that one thing, right? Which again mirrors kind of the caring language of, someone who is really deeply involved in another person's life, right? So all that starts to feel really, really good. And then boom, something will happen, right?
To that person, right?
Something will happen to that person, to the person, right? Now, we should also mention that part of the facade is to take the pictures of really attractive people, or people who fit a particular character type, right? So they don't necessarily have to be like traditionally attractive, even though most of the folks are. I would just tell you, I think it's because people are attractive generally. Like you, listener, whatever you think about yourself, you're an attractive person because people are attractive, right? And different people are attracted to different people anyway.
Right.
But they'll often be conventionally attractive or they'll fit a character stereotype, right? So if I am in a military scam, right, then I'm going to have and steal pictures from someone who is actually in the military. Right. If it's someone who's an offshore oil rigger, then they, there's not a lot of pictures of those folks out there, but they will Photoshop them.
Yeah. And there's a mental image.
There's a mental image
of somebody you think that person, an offshore oil rigger. That's a fun word to say. One fun series of words.
Offshore
oil rigger. I'm going to have to start using that for my acting warm-ups. That looks like, right?
Offshore oil rigger.
Careful, that's going to become
oil rigger.
Yeah. I'm just there's no end in there, so we're safe.
Rude.
I'm just pointing out.
Okay.
Right. That's again dangerous. Right, but there's a mental image that occupation holds.
Yeah.
So you go find people who fit that stereotypical image and say, that says offshore oil rigger.
Right. They will also to kind of deepen credibility, they'll give themselves like a portion of a family, right? So they'll often tell you that, their spouse died in some tragic accident and that's why they're single. That's why they are only now looking for someone and why they don't have someone in their lives that are close to them or nearby. Right. They will often talk about their responsibilities, like I have a son at home or I have a daughter at home. So while I am away, they're being cared for by such and such and so, right?
Right.
And when it's time to get the scam started, they will start by introducing then a tragedy, right? So something happened, like, for example, if I'm an offshore oil rigger, then something will happen there's a work injury, right? And like, I don't know, at some point I worked at a factory like a gazillion years ago. And there are pictures of like awful injuries that you have to watch, every year for OSHA safety rules. So they're pretty easy to find on the internet and other places, these pictures. So they will send pictures. It's not unusual for folks who have open social media to be open about every part of their lives. So if they are at a dentist's office or a doctor's office, they'll often snap a selfie, post it online, and then there's a ready-made story for that person.
Here I am in the doctor's office.
Here I am in the doctor's office, right? Or here I am in the hospital. And so it becomes more believable, right? And then because they've had this tragedy, they now have some need for you to help them with this problem. Right.
And remember, they're targeting, nurturing, kind, caring, loving individuals.
Giving and lonely.
With bankrolls.
Yeah.
With some money.
They don't even have to have some money. Like, that's the sad thing, is that no matter the level of money, it's such an insidious scam. They don't really care if you have a lot of money. And that's the other thing that gets people, because they think like, why would somebody try to target me? I don't even have any money.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. You have some money. And if you're willing to give it to them, then
they'll take it.
They'll take it.
All of it.
They'll take all of it. And it's a pretty heartless kind of.
It really is. Yeah. They don't. Yeah. It's not about, this person have a lot of money. Let's not romance scam them. Let's go for somebody with more.
Let's look for all they're looking for is someone who is responsive and someone who they can hook, right? As a matter of fact, these folks often work in teams, so it's not even like you're talking to one person in particular, right? One person might be like the voice of, right. If you can get them to talk to
researchers,
researchers and stories, and there are folks who will be responsible for sending you the messages.
Right.
Making sure that, keeping track of the times, right? Because they're in different time zones. They want to make sure that, when they're saying, hey, are you having breakfast right now, that they're accurate in the time zone. I mean, it's a really detailed kind of operation. And they do run almost like corporations.
Right. See? Corporations. Romance scammers.
Yeah. So, and so once you have this hook, right? It's like if you were to call me at any point in time and say, hey, listen, don't be trying to scam me this way. We got our own little, things that we know between us. So you can't scam me this way. But like, if you were to call or send me a message and be like, yo, I'm stuck. I need some money. I'm in a bad place. Right. I wouldn't even think twice. Right. I would just, of course, I would trust you that like whatever money I was sending would be put to the, appropriate use, that you would send it back to me. Right. That's all a part of being in love with the person. Right. So.
And that kind of lends into the scary aspect of AI.
I know.
And how that kind of internal romance scam, right? That's not even a scam of somebody that you don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah. That's they can romance scam. I guess it's still considered romance scam because it's somebody you love.
It's it's a different kind of fraud because they're impersonating.
It's impersonation versus. A romance scam. Romance scams are impersonating somebody else.
Well, yes,
but are they impersonating an idea?
They're not impersonating that person. Like they're not going to be like, "Hey, I found this person on the internet, and I'm going to be just like they are." They are creating an entire fiction. Okay. They're just using the picture, right? Yeah. So they're not trying to impersonate that person. In fact, actually, interesting enough, a lot of the folks that get their pictures stolen are actors, right? Actors and models, because headshots. They will have individual shots of them in various different scenes, right? So, like, if I say I'm a construction worker and I'm, what do you call those? Like either a background actor or
extra,
like an extra, but no, like for the photos, like stock photos.
Photo
model. If I'm like a stock photo model, right? You can get a picture of me as a doctor. You can get a picture of me as a construction worker. You can get a picture of me as a nurse, as a family man. Like all those things are just readily available as a part of the body of work. And so they can kind of create whatever they want to create.
If a romance scammer ever uses my photo, listeners, if you ever find a photo of me and being like romantic, it's not me. But I do have a lot of fun photos. Yeah. That are as a performer and an actor, Yeah. Yeah.
And what's so crazy too, and we'll get into this after we kind of get through the structure of the scam, is that it also can be devastating for the person whose pictures are stolen.
Right, because they're victimized.
They're also a victim, right? Their image is being used in ways that they don't consent to. Oftentimes they are then, engaged by folks who have been scammed, who then go out on a search to find out who they are and then decide, they may not know yet that they've been scammed. So they think that you took their money.
Right.
And so they're dealing with a lot of like angry, upset folks. And in fact, some of those folks just completely remove themselves from the internet as much as possible,
right,
because they can't really put anything out there without someone taking it.
Right.
So in any case, what ends up happening is there is this tragedy. And then another good clue about the romance scam: one, they can't ever reach you. Two, they're going to have you send money in ways that are not typical to how things happen, right? So if someone is like, hey, I'm in the hospital, I'm going to need you to send me some gift cards or some Bitcoin. Well, most hospitals around the world are not getting paid in gift cards.
Right.
They're not getting paid in cryptocurrency.
Right. St. Rose Hospital in Henderson doesn't accept gift cards.
Does not accept gift cards, right?
I've tried.
So that is often a red flag. But again, because I'm emotionally invested, people who are emotionally invested tend to overlook small details. Right.
Especially if the scammer's in the military and they're overseas somewhere. And
I don't know how money works overseas, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who don't.
That's a true thing. So, so the next clue is that they will ask you to send things in, unorthodox ways. So gift cards is actually the second most used, according to the FTC. That's used in 24% of scams. But typically, it's going to be either cryptocurrency or wire transfer. Right. Which again are things that in our current culture we just don't use very often. We don't use wire transfers as frequently.
Right.
Because there's Zelle and there's, Cash App and there's, all kinds of different ways to be able to transfer money to people that have a record.
Right.
Right. And these are ways that can be, not traceable. Right.
I think a lot of, movie aspects and TV, wire me the money. You got it right. That became a, phrase without an understanding of what that actually means.
Because again, it's not something that I do very often.
Right.
I can't think
I'm not the wiring
I
folks.
Wired something to somebody.
We tried to wire the health thing recently.
We did, but again, it was unusual.
Very unusual.
Weird.
Couldn't figure it out.
Kinds of different codes,
and it didn't work.
So thank goodness that was not a scam.
Yeah. The last time I had to wire anybody money was my friend Nate. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
But that was it, and that was Western Union.
Right.
Otherwise, can I Zelle you? Can I Venmo? Can I PayPal?
And this is where it gets really difficult, right? Because once you've sent money, then the drive becomes relentless, right? There's always going to be a need for more money.
Right.
There's always going to be more tragedy. There's always going to be, some reason. And this is often when they psychologically start to abuse the target, the victim, because, now I know that you are in love with me. We've maybe exchanged some racy photos, as it were, little nudie nudes, right? So I can blackmail you. I can, psychologically torture you. Folks start, name calling and really breaking down the victim, right? In the exact same way that they built them up, they will start to bring them down. And that really it's an abusive phase of how these scams tend to work, right? And it's psychologically devastating because remember, these are good, kind people who are lonely.
Right.
And now this person
finally found somebody, and now they're
abusing me.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of the psychological factors of being a part of an abusive relationship also come into play, right? So there's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of shame, which also kind of keeps them quiet.
Right.
Oftentimes friends and family who hear about this are concerned, right? But by that time, there's now a vested interest that this person needs to be real.
Right. To warrant all the money you sent.
To warrant the investment that you've made in the relationship, right? And so that, again, that becomes a driver, right? It's kind of like, you don't want to throw good money or after bad money, but if you're not sure if it's bad money, right?
Right.
Then
If you can convince yourself there was always good money.
Right. There's always the prospect.
This might still be good money. Yeah.
Right.
Because I hear a lot of the shows you watch. They always say, you're like, man, I hope they're real. They gotta be. I'm really talking to you to prove they're real, not because I don't believe they are, but because I believe they are, and I want you to confirm my beliefs,
right? I want you to confirm
not change my mind.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it too, is that once I've decided that this is a real thing, all of our confirmation bias kicks in, right? So everything I look at, I'm going to have a reason why this is real, even if it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Right. So, I'm sending gift cards because like their son is going to be using the money and not me. And like, he's 10. And so rather than send cash, I'm going to send him a gift card for his birthday and, that kind of thing. Right. Which could kind of sort of be plausible. Right. The other one that actually has just started that I guess not just started, but that I recently started hearing more and more about are what we would call, it's a terrible name, but it's called a pig butchering scam. Yeah, because what they do is...
Sorry, listeners, you can't see my face. I made a face on the word pig butchering.
It's terrible.
Whatever face you think you're making right now with the word pig butchering scam, I'm making that same face.
Yeah, and it's called that because what they do, and this is really insidious, is they fatten the victim up first, right? So what they'll do is like they'll enter into it with a romance scam. And this typically the backstory is that this person is either a trader or they're in cryptocurrency in some way. They're an investor of some type, and they'll ask you to invest a relatively small amount of money, right? They'll send you to a website that looks fairly legitimate. They'll say, hey, if you invest $100 in 10 minutes, you're going to get a return of $900, right? So then you'll send the money, you will go check your account, and then lo and behold, just like they said, like that day you just made $800. And it's like, oh, well, if I made $800, well, what happens if I put in two? Well, now I made $1,600, right? And then because there's now this level of trust, right? And they'll have like a customer service, chat bot and all that kind of stuff. But then it looks like a legitimate investment. And it's not just that I'm helping this person, right? It's that I'm helping me.
I'm not benefiting as well.
Right. So this person is actually helpful to me now because like they know I don't have very much money and they're helping me to like, get my money right. Right. And then the numbers just keep going up and up and up because the more you invest, the more money you make, right?
Right.
Not realizing that they're not actually making anything, that money is just going to somebody's Bitcoin wallet and then gone and never to be seen again.
And they're manufacturing the numbers that you're seeing on the fake website.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And in that instance, you'll just never be able to take the money out, quote unquote.
Right. And then...
Or you got to pay more fees to take
and
the
then
money out.
I hear that there was like... Maybe it was one episode you listened to where the person kept saying, you need to give me my money back.
Right. Because then I can the blackmail aspect, right? Because you lost all this money.
I told you to do this and you did this, but you also invested my money in there as well.
Right.
My quote unquote my money as well.
Right.
You need to pay me back that money. Well, since it was all electronic, you didn't invest anything of theirs,
right.
but you're going to pay them real money,
right?
To quote unquote pay them back.
And that's interesting too because they will often use like shame and guilt, right? So what they'll do. Here's another one that they'll do is they will show you a bank account that looks like it has a ton of money in it, right? And then for whatever reason, they can't move the money around where they are, so they're going to ask you to move the money around. And the first time it's going to work and it's going to be all good and fine, right? And you also get the idea they have a whole bunch of money.
Right.
And then the next time you do it, it's going to have an error. And they're going to be like, oh my God, you froze my account.
Right.
Like you messed up my money. You put in the wrong PIN number or something, but they took everything from me and now I'm destitute. It's your fault, right? Again, just preying on human
kindness and
concern and care and all that stuff. So yeah, there are a lot of different angles that they work from to try to separate the victim from their money. And it's really gross, actually. Yeah. It's really so awful.
What a great way to start a love podcast.
Love podcast.
But to be fair, I mean, it's actually a really good way to start it because
it's important to know
how to avoid it. As we get further in and we start discussing aspects of relationships and you know, real connections and whatever.
What does a real connection look like?
You gotta explore. Okay, well, what's the opposite of that? Well, that's not a real connection.
Yeah.
You know, and then people getting scammed. That's not great.
Yeah. No. So let's talk about how people avoid these kinds of scams, right? Yeah. The first is to just look out for the warning signs. One, if someone kind of pops up on you and they don't have any connection to anybody in your sphere, in your world, in your sphere of influence, be cautious, right? Like, it's really rare for most folks to have just random folks pop up in their universe,
right? Not have one
and not have any connection,
friends.
Not have any connection whatsoever to the people that you already know, right? What we know is that's true about friendship is that the first rule of friendship is you have to have proximity, right? I have to be connected to you in some way for us to even meet and become friends,
right? And
if that just happens out of the blue and randomly, then that's one red flag.
Right. You're never going to walk down the street, see somebody and pass somebody walking down the street next to you and instantly become friends.
Well, we have that experience.
We don't, actually. I was thinking about the other day as I was walking around, right? And I'm passing all these people who look interesting and maybe have interesting lives. Unless I purposely engage in with that person.
I've had that experience though. I gotta tell you, like I lived in Thailand for a while.
Okay.
And I think part of it is also where you're at, right? So if like walking around Thailand, walking around Japan, right? There were so few foreigners in the areas that I was in that when we saw another foreigner, there would be a connection. We would connect, right? So, some of those connections are still, present today. Thinking about my friend Rhonda, that we know we're still social media buddies.
Right. Shout out to Rhonda.
Shout out to Rhonda.
But the at that moment, you guys had.
But we also met. So there's that part. We also met in person.
Right.
That's the key. If he can't meet you. If for whatever reason they say they can't meet you, they can't video chat with you, right? Like then you want to, and there's no feasible reason for that to be the case. Then you really that your red flag should go up, right. The second thing you should always be looking out for is they are looking for you to solve their problem, right? So. Listen, we talk to folks all the time that have challenges and problems and issues, and what they maybe are asking for is some advice. Right. Or like they're looking for like some different ideas about how do I fix this?
But generally, no one's looking for us to fix their problem.
Right. And so
outside of work, I figure people in your work, people want you to fix their problem. Not that you're going to, not that you will, but I'm pretty sure people go to a therapist to have them fix their problem. I know. As a going for my own therapist, I went, okay, I got to figure out what my problem is, and then my therapist helped me fix it. Right. And then going through therapy, you realize, okay, no, my therapist is not designed to fix the problem. My therapist will help me
learn the skills to figure out how to help myself. Right. But yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But yeah, so the second clue, right? First clue is I can't ever meet you. I can't ever talk to you in person, right? That's a big red flag. And that's really the primary red flag, right? Because in our very connected world, there's very rarely somebody who doesn't have a phone with a camera. Right. If they're talking to you on the internet, then they have an internet connection, right? There are a gazillion different ways to connect with people. So if for whatever reason they are always challenged to either meet with you or talk with you in a face-to-face way, that's going to be that's going to be a red flag. Right. The second red flag.
And I would you got two shots. That if I feel there's a connection, first you get one excuse. Yeah. Maybe. First time, okay, we set up a plan and something came up and you weren't able to. Okay, fine. Second time, nope. That's moving on.
Yeah, that's a good way to test that. Yeah. Number 2, they have a problem and they're looking for you to solve that problem, and the answer to that problem is always money. Right. It's never like advice. And it's never even something that I can send to you, right? Like one of the scams I hear frequently is it's my son's or daughter's birthday. I want to get them a gift. and be like, great, I'll buy them a PS4, or, I'll buy them a pair of shoes. I'm like, no, just send the money.
Yeah.
No,
or send me a gift card.
Or just send me the gift card.
Send me the gift card now, because I don't know exactly what they want.
Right, that kind of thing.
Send me a gift card, and then I can give them the gift card, and they can get whatever they. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Not unless you've actually met the child. Don't send kids money, is what we're saying.
Yeah, don't do that. Just don't. This is not a thing. And then, so the second is that they are looking for you to solve the problem.
Third red flag.
The third red flag is they start to threaten you. They start to threaten to either expose you, or they start to.
So they made it past red flag 1 and red flag 2.
They made it past red flag 1 and red flag 2. You want to be just super careful about that.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's when it starts to get abusive. And if you've ever been in an abusive relationship, I have, unfortunately, you understand how difficult it is to get out from under that kind of abuse. So any kind of abusiveness towards you, any kind of like toxic behavior should be a red flag. And then the fourth is that your friends and family are concerned.
Right.
Trust your
tribe.
Trust your tribe.
Trust your tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really interesting because like in the previous relationship I had that was very, very abusive, nobody liked him. My family hated him. And of course I just thought, well, that's just my family. They just
You didn't really like your family, so.
Well, that's not true.
That's not true. You love your family.
I love my family. What are you talking about? I love my family.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So weird. I didn't think they approved of my choices.
That's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, no, I love my family, guys. Let's not get this twisted. Right? Hey fam. I love you guys. I love you and I like you. Okay? Yeah. I love you and I like you. But I'd made some choices in my life that they didn't approve of.
Right.
And this seemed like one of those choices in my life that they just didn't approve of.
Right. Okay.
Right. So, but
that's what I meant.
Yes. Thank you.
You like the way they was reacting to your choices.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. That's
exactly that. Right. So, and I thought this was just a reaction.
No, you hate your family. I don't want you.
I'm going to really ask you to stop saying stuff like that.
Okay.
You're just going to get me in trouble for absolutely nothing that I did.
Nothing at all. Anywho, you're saying?
Trust your friends and family.
Trust your tribe.
Right?
Trust your tribe.
Even if you have disagreements about a variety of things, you can generally trust that in terms of your intimate partner, your friends and family want you to find someone that's good for you. Yeah. And if they are raising concerns, if they're raising red flags, it's not because they don't want you to be happy, right? If you got anywhere close to just basic level good friends and family, they want you to be happy.
Right.
They're seeing something that maybe you're not seeing, and they're seeing something that's causing them concern. And so, hindsight's 20/20. I should have listened when they raised those concerns and recognized that, even though my choices of how I was going to be happy in my life, at base, they still wanted me to be happy in my life, right? And they recognized that this was a person that was not going to help me to get there. So listen to your friends and
especially if that sentiment spreads over a wide variety of folks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so my family doesn't like them,
but
my friends love them.
Right.
Well, my friend, this friend over here doesn't like them, but this friend thinks they're great, which means generally that those folks have met them.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let your friends and family vet. Enroll your tribe into your vetting process.
Yeah, we definitely enrolled our tribes.
Yeah. Well, the first part of our relationship, the only people I talked to were a couple people in my tribe.
Yeah. But they really couldn't vet me because I didn't have a name.
Well, no, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. we'll get there. We'll discuss.
But here's the thing. But they knew I was happy.
Right.
They could tell that I was super, super happy. So the vetting process was, they weren't like, whoever this person is, they're not good for you.
And that I was real and existed because you had gone on dates.
I had gone on dates. I had seen this person.
Yeah, you had seen this person. Yeah. So it wasn't like we've only talked on Facebook and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were right. Right. No, we've seen this person and we've hung out with this person and this is, you look different now. You're just smiling more. You're a little more happy, a little more glowing. You're more pep in your step.
Yeah, listen to him. So
I'm talking about my friends were telling me, not what people were telling you. I already know they were telling you that. This is what people were also telling me.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Which must be how great you are, because I'm already a generally loving and happy and friendly and bouncy person. So if that got accentuated and grew because you were in my life, yeah,
it did.
True story.
Absolutely true story. Yeah, so hopefully this will help you to stay safe when you're out there. I want people to get out there and be connected. I want them to have a good time. I want them to build good relationship, all that good stuff, communication, trust, loyalty, all the things that you really need to have a really great relationship. And hopefully this will help you to sidestep some of the challenges
out there. Dating world's already tough enough.
It's very tough.
Let's not hard to folks get scammed.
Good matches, right?
Now, if you were either involved in a romance scam, or you know somebody who's in a romance scam, or you're concerned you might be in a romance scam, shoot us a message. Hit us up. You can catch us on the Instagram at Rainbow Dreamcatcher TLP for the Love Podcast. You can message and send us a message. We would love to hear those stories and talk about those stories more. Yeah. And engage with the folks who this might involve.
Yeah. And if you are one of the unfortunate souls, 70,000 plus, who has been involved in something like this and are now going through the devastation of having to walk through the idea that, one, I was scammed, which is terrible. We've been scammed once or twice in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It
sucks.
It sucks. It's really important to know it's not about you or your character. You are a wonderful person. I hope that you reach out to a therapist or a relationship coach that can help you to get, re in touch with who you are and, that good, kind person, which, I don't know, kind of put you in that position, right?
Right.
And that you can rebuild and you can learn to trust and love again, right?
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if you've been involved in one of those, of course, send us a message. We'd love to hear it, but also make sure you're taking care of you. Make sure you are taking care of yourself and getting the help that you need. It really is something to recover from. It's like a pretty serious injury. And you want to make sure that you get the right assistance so that you're healing in a way that you can get back out there and find like the real thing.
Yeah. So be on the lookout, pay attention to red flags, listen to your tribe, and pay attention, and we want you guys to be safe. This will be the part of the podcast where we answer a listener's question or questions. When we started talking about doing this, we of course reached out to family and friends, because that's what you got to do before the world is listening to you. And we received a question from our friend Elena.
Hey, Elena. Shout out to Elena. So good. Love it. What's Elena asking?
This is the question. Mm-hmm. What do you guys do if one of you is upset and there is nothing that the other one can do? How do you deal with it?
Oh, that's tough. Well, how do I answer that? The first question is, why is the other person upset?
Well, that's the question you ask.
That's the question I ask.
That you need to know.
Yeah.
That's the information you don't have.
That's the information I don't have, is why is the person upset? If the person is upset as a result of something I did, well, that's one path.
Right.
But if the person is just upset, let's say, I don't know, life is happening, we are walking through lives, our journeys are, we're walking through our life journeys together, and a lot of things can throw us off track.
Right.
Grief, loss of a job,
stress,
loss of friendships. I mean, we've walked through a lot of these things.
Yeah.
In which the other person was upset and there's nothing I can do about it.
Bad meat in Romania.
Well, we'll have a whole podcast on that all by itself, live from Bucharest, y'all. Yeah. But I would say this: the most important thing you can do when someone is upset is to recognize, and this is just from something I learned in therapy. Mm-hmm. Your instinct is to want to try to say things to help take away the pain, and nobody's helped by taking something away from them. Even their pain, right? Because when someone tries to take away my pain without really understanding it first, it feels dismissive, kind of like, you don't need this. Come on, put that to the side. Let's get you better.
Right.
Right. And what I instead find is more helpful is just acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is just when I'm talking with that person about their pain, acknowledging that it really is as bad as they think in just exactly the way they think it is.
Okay.
Right. And the way I think about it in my brain, I'm a very visual person. And the way I think about it in my brain is that, the thing that's not helpful, if I'm sitting in a dark room by myself and I am terrified and I am scared and I am hurt and I'm crying, right? There are some people who open the door and go, hey, come on out here. Come on, let me show you how to get out of this room. It's right over here. All you gotta do is just walk out this door. And that's not helpful, right? Because I'm still in there alone and scared. What you instead want to do is be the person that opens the door and then comes and sits with me in the darkness and just sits next to me and says, it's okay. You're not alone. I know this hurts. I know you're scared. I'm here. That's what's helpful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I'd answer that question.
And how do you deal with it? The fact that let's say you can't help that. Let's say that person is upset and you can't help them. The whatever's causing them to be upset is out of your control.
Yeah. That's me sitting with them. Like when
and that's how you deal with it.
That's how I deal with it, right?
How do you not let it get you upset?
Well, that has to do we're about to go down this path of differentiation, right? We're gonna that's a grad school word, differentiation. All you therapists out there, self-differentiation. But that's also understanding that empathy doesn't mean I have to feel what you feel.
Right.
It means I have to understand how you feel. So I don't have to be sad because you're sad.
Right.
Right. I have to just understand what sadness feels like and sit with you in that place that says, I understand what this feels like. Right. Not that I have to be here crying with you.
Right.
Unless that's true for me.
And does that knowledge help you personally not be affected by the whatever the other person is going through?
Yes and no, right? Like I'm of course affected,
right?
If my partner is hurting,
I guess affected is not the right
I'm
word.
Not hurting
right.
in the same way,
right?
Right. So I can understand that I'm not hurting in the same way, and sit with you with your hurt, and that's, I don't know, maybe like a therapy thing,
right?
That's something that.
Well, I'm not the therapist, so I'm not a therapist, so I can say so. The way I visualize this is I've often been the other side of the before I would open the door, or I'd be the person to turn on the light.
Yeah,
like look, just
turn on the light like this.
This is where you are. No, you're good. Let me sit down with you in the light. But I have also come to learn through going through therapy. Yeah, no, just be there, acknowledge, be there with you. Acknowledgement. I think the first part of the question, what do you do when someone's upset and you can't do anything about it, is acknowledge it.
Right.
I see that you're upset.
And how do I deal with it? I think the second part is that I make sure that I'm taking care of me.
Right.
That's good self-care. And you're going to maybe hear me because I'm a therapist, right? So you're going to hear me say self-care. And self-care is not the things that people often highlight. It can involve these things.
I tell you, the self-care is important. It's very important. But it's also one of those phrases that has become elevated
to almost, let me tell you what
no
self-care
longer
is.
really means what it means.
So let me tell you what self-care is, right? At its very base, self-care is doing and taking the actions necessary to make sure that I am functioning at the level that I need to be functioning. And when I think about it in that way, I'm not thinking bubble bath. Like a bubble bath is not going to help me function or not function, even though it might help me to feel better.
Right.
What's going to help me to function is, what am I eating? How am I sleeping? Am I getting enough hydration? Do I have social connection?
Right.
Am I moving my body around so that my body's getting exercise? Right. That's really the foundation of self-care. I almost want to rephrase it. Not self-care, but self-maintenance.
Self-maintenance.
Because, what people think of as self-care is really self-repair, right? Like I'm so burnt out, I need to go get a massage. No, That's self repair, right? That's like my car has broken down and now I have to bring it to the mechanic.
Right.
As opposed to my car is running fine and I'm just making sure that the oil and the water and the gas are all good. Yeah, that's good self care. All right, yeah. Thanks for the question, Elena. I appreciate that.
Hooray. Let me ask you how I deal with it. I didn't get to the. I got the first part, but then get the second part of how I deal with it.
I'm sorry. How do you deal with it?
When somebody's upset.
How do you deal with it?
I can't do nothing about it.
When I'm upset and you can't do anything about it. How do you deal with it?
I start to temper my reactions.
Okay.
I don't really. I find myself wanting to tiptoe and address, but I'm always worried that that's going to make things worse because it starts to bring awareness of the problem or stressful situation. Then now I'm always worried that if I try to approach it with kitty gloves, then I'm drawing attention to the problem and not acknowledging the place the person is in.
Okay.
Right? Like if let's say you're mad at the noise on the street, right?
The sounds, you mean the
dulcet tones of Romania, right?
Bucharest.
Let's say that's very upsetting you to a point, the level that's in here, and you're really upset about it.
Sure.
If I keep going, hey, are you okay?
Yeah, if you do it like that.
If I can get something right, weird. But even with that kind of energy, right? What I've done is drawn attention to the fact that you're upset and how it's affecting the home.
It's more about how it's affecting you.
How it's affecting me versus
how it's affecting me.
How it's affecting you.
Yes.
And so the way I try to deal with it is not treat you differently, right? But also not take anything personally.
Fair.
Right? Like I try not to take it like if you're upset at something and I, make a ham sandwich and I make you a ham sandwich, I don't want no damn ham sandwich. Like, okay.
I've never in my life said I don't want no damn ham sandwich.
No, she never has.
I always want a ham sandwich, ladies and gentlemen. Always.
If that were the case, I wouldn't be like, oh, what's wrong with the sandwich I made? How do you like the sandwich I made? No, it's because you're upset. Okay, maybe she'll want it later. And you put it aside, right? So I don't let that affect me. And I don't take anything in that moment personally.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And then try to give you the space to, if you want to address it, and to address it and discuss it, move past it if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much for the question, Alina. Appreciate you so much. It's great.
Yeah. So now, is there any?
Well, I suppose we should talk about the social medias.
The social medias, right? Those aspects.
Social medias.
Yes.
There's a ton of social medias happening, guys. If you are interested in relationship coaching, and support in learning how to have good, healthy, and happy relationships. If you are recovering from a relationship injury, perhaps betrayal or infidelity, certainly hit me up. And you can find that on thepolyplace.com. You can also find me
Poly,
on
P-O-L-Y.
P-O-L-Y.
Place.
Thepolyplace.com. You can also look me up. Soon you'll be able to look me up on the TikToks, as the young folks say, the TikToks,
the tickety-tockies,
the ticker-talkers, the TikTokers. Okay, Boomer.
I'm not a boomer.
He's not a boomer. He's close though.
I'm a child of the boomers.
Yes, we're Gen Xers. If you got to know, definitely. I'm certainly on the younger end of the Gen Xers.
You're Gen Nexters.
I'm a Gen Nexter. I'm a near millennium.
Yeah.
Millennial.
Right.
Those things are not. They just don't make any difference. They really don't.
They're just labels.
They're just labels.
Stop labeling each other.
It's just labels. But yeah, so I'll be on TikTok, and you'll see some relationship advice on TikTok. You'll also be able to check me out on YouTube on Colorful Connections.
We have the Instagram page at Rainbow Dreamcatcher TLP.
Yep.
You can check us out there. You can always send us an email at rainbowdreamcatchertop@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear your questions. We're just getting this started, and I would love to know what you guys would love us to talk about. Like, what kinds of questions interest you?
Submit your questions, submit your stories. We'll have, segments on here. We answer listeners' questions. We'll have segments of people who provide us their stories, and then we'll chat about what we hear in those stories as well. If there's any topics you want us to address, hit us up, let us know, and we'll put those in the rotation, and we'll definitely take a look. Of course, those kind of get priority because we really want to talk about what you want to hear about. So
tell us all about what you want to know about relationships.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm Big Sexy.
And I'm Nilla.
And this has been Rainbow Dreamcatcher.
The Love Podcast.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.